Welcome back to ChatChit. That's round 2 in the books. We're a couple of disappointed Swans fans. There were some great games, including that Swans game, all around the league this week, but the round was dampened by a slew of hamstring injuries to really key players.
Now we're going to jump into our game of the round, but before that...
Let's roll the intro.
Absolutely pissing down here at the turf. Marcus has kicked Jesus! Usain Bolt wouldn't get him now.
The legend becomes immortal.
So the game of the round I want to focus on was the final game of the round, the unexpected game of the round,
Yep.
West Coast versus North Melbourne. West Coast hadn't won a game in I think it was 308 days or something, round 10 against St Kilda last year. But we talked about it last year, the West Coast fans continue to bring it. Even at the first quarter, 7 goals to North Melbourne, 3 goals to West Coast. Fans continued to bring it, and didn't West Coast show a better fight?
Can I tell you, I was watching this game, and this, the worm was swinging like a bathroom door on curry night. It was absolutely wild just watching this. At one point, it looked like North was going to win by 100, to be honest, and towards the end of the first quarter and early in the second. And then West Coast, their young guns, especially through the midfield and in the forward line, just started playing with this confidence and fluency once they got a couple of goals in a row, and they were just impossible to stop in the end.
They ran absolutely off momentum for the entire game, and it did not stop. Like you said, I completely agree. I thought they were going to get rolled by about 150 points, and it was almost going to be that final breakout game for North Melbourne.
Yeah.
Like, they've been 5 points pretty much each way against West Coast. West Coast have got some wins. North Melbourne have got some wins over the last few years. But finally, this was going to be the game when North Melbourne separated themselves from the bottom of the pack. They just couldn't get it done.
And I think really symbolic, the sort of 3 individual performances that stuck out the most in this game were probably Sheasel with 40 touches, Nick Larkey kicked 6 goals, and Tristan Xerri absolutely dominated the ruck battle like we haven't really seen so far this season. And yet, it was West Coast that get across the line by a 17-point margin, and it was just the whole team coming together and getting it done in the second and third quarters.
Well, there's a couple of unexpected names on that West, like Devon Robinson had a good game for West Coast. Milan Murdoch, the Sparky,
He's unbelievable.
looks absolutely electric as that mature age recruit.
Yeah.
Just brings energy. Harley Reid seems to jump off the back of that energy. He had probably one of his best games, if not his best game in a West Coast shirt. The new draftee, Dersma, looked really good, kicked 2 goals.
He has moments, doesn't he? Yeah.
He's gonna take a lot of good marks, and once he bulks up that body, he's gonna be a really, really top player.
Yeah, I think we're going to get now into our best individual performances of the round, our top 5. My number 5 best player of the round was Ben King. He kicked 7 goals, and this has become a bit standard from him that he had, I think, 8 or 9 kicks and kicked 7 goals from it. And for the season, he's had 19 kicks for 16 goals. He's just efficient. He knows his role in the team, which is not to get up to ground. It's to work out of the goal square, and he just does it beautifully and converts when he gets given opportunities.
I like it. It's been like that for the last couple of years. It would be great if you could top it off with a Coleman medal. My number 5 is someone we spoke about already, Harley Reid. So high energy, quality performance, looks extremely calm for only 41 games. But exactly the type of performance Eagles fans would love to see, as long as he can continue bringing that performance, even when they're down 40 to 50 points. Yeah,
my number 4 for this week is the man that's sort of become Mr. Top 5 since our podcast started, and that's the Bont. Yeah, he maybe wasn't even the best on ground going into the fourth quarter, and then just completely dominated that fourth quarter. Adelaide couldn't get a hold of him, and he was the reason that Bulldogs were able to get across the line.
Well, I also had him at number 4 this week. Just seems to be a regular in the top 5. A regular Bontempelli performance gets him in the top 5 players of the round.
Mate, might have even been a below average Bontempelli performance, and yet he was best on ground. Number 3 for me was Shea Bolton. And now we saw from Shea Bolton what people have expected over the last couple of years at times, where he was able to, when Caleb Sarong got tagged, he was able to have that impact and make Frio's midfield still be able to dominate the inside 50s and clearances in the crucial parts of the game. He ended up with 2 goals and 32, led the game in contested possessions, at least for Freo, and he had 10 inside 50s and 9 clearances. Now that's the impact inside the pack moving outwards that they've really been hoping for, and he was able to deliver in a big game.
I had him at number 2, and just the one thing I've got here is I'd love to know the amount of tackle breaks he had in that game. You could not tackle him in the midfield, and we've known Freo for being a pretty slow team, and if they're to contend this year, you'd think he'd have to do that more often than not in the middle of the park. My number 3, Jai Newcombe.
Yeah.
He absolutely destroyed an albeit Swans depleted midfield, but you've still got to go out and do it, and he's done it pretty much every game this year so far. 1 goal, 31 disposals, 81%, 12 contested possessions, 9 clearances. It's a pretty standard Newcombe performance, but he absolutely destroyed the Swans in there.
And Hawthorn really need him to play like this year. With no Will Day, James Worpel gone, and they weren't able to get Merritt. It's going to be the constant storyline for Hawthorn this year. Can they keep it going in the midfield and keep up with the big opponents? John Newcombe got it done.
Yeah.
Now, at my number 2, I have some serious defender appreciation that I missed out on last week. Callum Wilkie. Now, this is just what he does every week, but he was particularly good in a close win against GWS. St Kilda needed this win, and Wilkie got 4 contested marks, 28 possessions, which he's so safe with the ball in his hands and at his feet, and he was able to steer St Kilda across the line.
Well, I have Wilkie as my number 1 player of the round, so a bit more defender appreciation. I've got Mr. Consistent, 11 intercepts, 10 contested possessions, 4 contested marks, which is massive.
Yeah.
Massive for a key defender. And he's driving all the way to probably another All-Australian team at the end of this year.
Yeah.
But
You'd think so.
He was just really good.
It's just how he plays on a regular basis. And at my number 1, I have a player that you didn't have in your top 5. It was Tristan Sherry. I don't know why you're laughing, because that ruck performance was genuinely something else. I know that Matt Flynn is a bit of an inexperienced ruck, not maybe the most dominant ruck in the league, but Tristan Sherry made him look like a school kid, and that's a big man with some skills that he made look like a genuine school kid. Tristan Sherry had 80+% of the hitouts when he was in the ruck contest, and that doesn't even take into account the amount of times that he just rips it out of the contest with ease and puts it straight to North Melbourne hands. 25 disposals, 23 contested possessions. The man had 9 tackles. If he doesn't get the ball out of the stoppage, he's laying a tackle and stopping the opposition from getting through. And then in the air, he takes 3 huge contested marks. I can tell you, 5 free kicks, 4 as well. So they just couldn't stop him without tackling him too high. And he just could not be stopped, and he was not the reason that North Melbourne lost this game. If we're saying get Zach Merritt some help at Essendon, it's get Tristan Sherry some help in North Melbourne.
And I think that number 1 spot was also helped by the fact that we both captained him in Supercoach, and he brought up, I think it was 199
saved my
points
round.
in the end. We'll move on to the next segment, which is a new segment. It's called Overreaction or Real.
Okay.
I've got 4 statements here. I'm going to say the statement. You're going to tell me, is it an overreaction?
I'll also tell you if it's an underreaction.
Is it real or is it an underreaction?
Okay.
And you're going to tell me why.
Okay, let's try.
So the first one I've got here, Sydney's season is in trouble without Gulden.
In trouble, I think, is a very fair way to put it. So I think that that's real. If you're saying they're more likely to miss finals than make now, I disagree with that. I still think that they have the firepower to probably make the top 6 even. But yeah, the stat from last year is that we were about 3 wins, 9 losses without Gulden, and then went on a huge run when he came back in the second half of the year. So I'm really concerned that that's going to happen again this year.
Moving on to number 2, after the performance we just saw against West Coast, we thought North Melbourne would have to get 8, 9, 10 wins maybe this year.
Yeah.
Are they ready? Are they ready to make that jump?
I think clearly not. I don't know what the statement there is, whether it's an overreaction or I don't know what the
I've just said
is.
North Melbourne are not ready yet.
Yeah, I think that that's real. It's very unfortunate. They looked so good in round 1, and then they reminded us that they don't know how to convert from a win. They don't know what to do when they're ahead. I think that's what happened in the second and third quarters there. They just didn't know what to do when they had the game in their hands. It seemed like they were playing without a bit of purpose. Maybe that's something they can learn pretty quickly, and that was a good learning experience for them. But yeah, I don't think they're ready yet.
Moving on to the next one. Last week against Hawthorn, Essendon had put off one of their lowest ever pressure ratings recorded. This year, this round against Port Adelaide, they put their lowest pressure rating on record, I think, in the last 13 years, the lowest ever pressure rating. Yeah. Are Essendon in serious trouble?
These aren't really hot takes. This is just how it is. Essendon, I think their reputation as like a major team in this league that is like an organisation to be reckoned with died years ago, and like we just sort of have the corpse of a team here. Zach Merritt is still playing as one of the elite players in the league, and they've just trapped him in, and they're trying to give him another deal.
They're trying to renew his contract again, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes it, if they offer him more money on top of that.
Maybe just to save face, because he might feel a bit embarrassed about what happened to his reputation in the off-season, even though I think he was fully within his rights. But yes, they're in serious trouble. They, as Dan does footy put on his TikTok, they might not win a game this year.
And I'm interested to see where you have them in the power rankings a little bit later this episode. Into the last statement, The Western Bulldogs are premiership favourites.
Wow. As in number one. Okay, that one I'd say is an overreaction. I think that Gold Coast I'd put ahead of the Bulldogs, and I would still put Brisbane ahead of them. You just have to fear Brisbane under Chris Fagan now that they've got this whole team together, and none of those injuries that they currently have and suspensions, none of those are long term. So I do expect by the end of the year Brisbane and Gold Coast to be the top two, but Bulldogs are right there. They look terrifying.
Let's see what happens in September. We'll move into the next segment, my favourite segment, the Footy Pyramid. Now there's a few outs. There are three massive players. Gulden's out of the pyramid. Unfortunately, he's injured for 4 months. Petrarca was on top of the pyramid last week. Yep. I just thought, let's get him out. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks. Noah Anderson's out as well. He had one of his quieter games. Moving into the 5th tier, new in, Max Gawn comes into the pyramid. Yep. Had a really good game against Freo, even in the loss. Last week he was exceptional as well.
What a player.
Josh Dacos, Charlie Cameron, Dane Zorko are going to hold their place on the bye. And Nick Blakey's going to hold his spot. I think he was just good enough in that Swans game against Hawthorn. Moving up a tier, there are 2 new entrants into the 4th tier from the same team. I have John Newcombe entering the pyramid, and I have Jack Gunston entering the pyramid as well.
So fair.
I think he's been exceptional.
Yeah.
He just seems... You never think he can keep going. It doesn't matter which defender's on him. Maybe it's time to pay him a bit more respect and put the best defender on Jack Gunston.
He's so crafty. He just seems to always know the right space to move into, when to move, how to use where his teammates are, and how the defense is set up. He's just probably the craftiest forward out there.
Absolutely, and he doesn't even need the speed to do it. He gets it out the back. He'll make a short lead. He always seems to be on the end of it, and he kicks true. Justin McInerney drops a tier. Had a good performance. I think it was a goal, 20 odd. And Sam Walsh is going to hold his spot on the bye. Moving into the 3rd tier, Ed Richards is going to hold his spots. Clayton Oliver's going to move up a tier.
Yeah, wow.
Had a really good performance. We haven't even mentioned him this episode. Didn't make the top 5, probably maybe because they lost. But he had a really good performance for GWS and has had a few good performances this year. Yep. And Tuke Miller's going to move up a tier as well. Just going under the radar as usual for Gold Coast.
Absolutely.
Moving into the 2nd tier, Jack Sinclair is going to move up a tier.
Love it.
Just puts performance after performance and is real shining light for St Kilda at the moment. And Nick Dacos is going to hold his spot in the bye. And as expected, as we expect it to be for the rest of the season, it is Bontempelli's pyramid. He sits on top of it.
We got no Zach Butters in that pyramid?
We do not have a Zach Butters in the pyramid at the moment.
Yeah, fascinating. Tell us what you think of that in the comments.
He was tagged out of the game last week. Let's move into the power rankings.
Starting at 18, we have Essendon. Now, they are all the way at the bottom of the power rankings, I think for the first time since we've done this segment.
I'd definitely say so, yeah.
Over the last couple of years. And look, just the amount of pressure that they've been putting on. One of the disappointing things amongst many is that there were a lot of excuses made for them last year with all the injuries. It was historic how many injuries they had. And the general sentiment was, look, when everyone's back next year, this is a team with a lot of exciting young players. And that might be true. But they are not playing with any energy. The coach is throwing young players under the bus in post-game interviews.
I did see that.
And throwing Nate Caddy under the bus, who was one of their only shining lights in that game, really. So
I think he threw Kako under the bus as well for the amount of shots that he missed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not great to do with a young player.
Pretty much everything that can go wrong in that football club seems to be going wrong at the moment. They sit in 18. And then in 17 is Richmond.
Oh, we've got a jumper.
Making a jump. Are the West Coast Eagles.
Who would have thought they'd make it off the bottom this year?
Yeah, impressive performance. They had one win all of last year, and now they get it done in a really impressive second half and second quarter performance against North Melbourne. North Melbourne, who drop down to 15. Now, I'm happy that I didn't jump them too high last week. Where did I have them last week?
You had them in 13.
Yeah, I had them in 13. They looked so good against Port Adelaide that you almost wanted to put them higher, but a part of us just knew that we can't quite trust them yet. We need to see it multiple times. We need to see some consistency. Next up is Carlton in 14, who keep their spot with the bye, I believe.
Yeah.
Port Adelaide, who now jump with that winning performance into 13th. Melbourne sit in 12th with a sort of an expected loss against Freo, who were looking to bounce back. St Kilda in 11th, really importantly, pick up their first win of the year.
It was close. Also with the scandal of the 30 seconds that was lost in the game somewhere.
Absolutely, yeah. I have no clue what happened there. But I think it's fair to say that this top 11 is what many people are viewing as sort of separate from the bottom 7.
Yeah.
From St Kilda up, these are the teams that you sort of view as genuine finals contenders.
So if there's a very clear top 10, 11 this year and a very clear bottom rest.
Yeah.
Is finals top 12 next year? Because it seems like that's what we're going down that road.
I think finals just top 18. Like the whole home and away season should just be for seedings.
I like it. Extend the season.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Okay.
GWS into 10th. Now I've lost my train of thought because I'm just dreaming about the glory of a 60-game season. But GWS now, it looks a little bit concerning. They do have a load of injuries, and it's just, can they hold the boat above water while they have all these injuries so that they don't fall too far behind and have too much pace to catch up? But we know the kind of team that they are under Adam Kingsley with these players in the team. Collingwood at 9 with the bye. Adelaide in 8th, who, look, I think that they could be even higher than this, but they start the season 1-1 against this Western Bulldogs team, and what we might continue to see out of them. We might look back at this 6-point loss and think, gee, Adelaide were really good in this game. And I think that they were. This Bulldogs team, just the talent, the movers, how good they are all over the ground at the moment. I think that Adelaide actually played very well in that game, and so they sit in the top 8 here. Hawthorn get a really important win over the Swans to be in 7th. Fremantle move to 1-1, and the talent and the depth of that list that we've been looking at in the pre-season came to fruition this week against Melbourne. Geelong, with the bye, stick around in 5th. Swans drop a couple of places to 4th. We saw this week what we dreaded, which was the effect of not having Gulden and, of course, not having Heaney. If Heaney was out long-term as well, Sydney would slide a lot further in these power rankings. But hopefully with Heaney back, the Swans can return to winning ways after the bye. Brisbane sit in 3rd with the bye, but we know how good they'll be. I think this was a much needed bye for them to get players back from injury and, you know, all of that good stuff. Bulldogs jumping all the way to 2nd. Now, I doubted them really hard going into the year, did not predict them to make the top 6, and had them maybe in 10th or 11th in the regular season, just because I thought they were so good in attack and defence last year. Attack and midfield last year, I apologise. Like, we haven't seen them make any moves in personnel-wise in the off-season to improve their defence. So how can they improve? Because their attack and midfield doesn't feel like it could get better. Somehow it's gotten better, and their defence has just sharpened up completely. Buku Cummins, Lockie Jakes, the rookie, and others back there are just looking so good. What do you reckon about the Bulldogs?
Well, they've changed their style a little bit defensively this year, whereas they're sort of allowing the uncontested marks, which lets them flood back to their defensive 50. So you watch teams like Adelaide, who like to move the ball a little bit slower, they'll allow them to get those easy kicks, and just watch the whole Bulldogs team sort of drift back towards the defensive 50. And as soon as Adelaide get there, just look at the amount of Dogs players that are sitting back behind the ball.
Yeah, I think the way that they're playing right now, not too many people will be surprised if Bulldogs lift that premiership trophy. They're absolutely one of the main contenders.
Overreaction? I think not.
But sitting in 1st is Gold Coast. Now, they're doing all the right things to start the year. It looked a little bit shaky early against Richmond. Took them a while to tear away, but eventually they did and got across the line with a comfortable win. I
like it, and now I wouldn't be surprised if they stay on top of the ladder for the entire the season.
Yeah, they got a good draw as well.
Petrarca out for a few weeks to see how that affects them, and Rao's supposed to come back relatively soon. But just on the hamstring injuries that we sort of talked about at the top of the episode, is the game moving a little bit too quickly? As in, we've changed all the rules to make the game move even faster. Everything's about pace and speed. What we've seen in the stats I saw on some other podcasts is the amount of sprints players are doing in the games has almost doubled this year. Maybe it's to do with the extra interchange. They've had more energy. But with the huge amount of hamstring injuries already, is it taking a toll on players too quickly?
And it's all the ghost hammy injuries where it just seems to be from pure exertion of the legs just running so much and so fast. And I do think it's having an effect. About halfway through the round, where we had like 3 or 4 of these ghost hamstring injuries, I was thinking, it's not a big enough sample size to say that these rule changes, of course, the issue. But when it just kept happening throughout the round, and we ended up with 7 or 8, and there might be more revealed as this week goes on, it seems to be a little bit of an issue. I don't think we can jump to change the rules back in the middle of the year.
Yeah, obviously not.
But we just really hope that the players' bodies adjust somehow.
As in, the sample size is too small. Like, we went through a period last year where there were load of ACL injuries in a pretty small period, and nothing changed, and that sort of
just went away.
Just sort of went away. So we'll see what happens, but it was quite a significant amount to have in such a short period of time.
Let's pray that it stops, because especially when it's happening to your stars, like your most exciting running players, the Petrarcas and Rosies of the world, you really don't want to see that.
Once again, join our Super Coach League. The code's been sitting in the top. You'll bring all your points across. I think we're both in the top few thousand.
Yeah, I'm sitting, I think, at 7,000.
Yeah, so we're doing quite well. Come join us, challenge us, and we'll see you all in the next one.